Welcome to Let's Make a Game Platformer, episode 10. In last episode, I've refactored the rendering to adapt to the changes I've done to the gaming module. This mostly included the fact that all the rendering is now done using events rather than registering renderers. Also, another the things I did was fix the resizing window. Before it was just stretching the entities, and now it's just changing the viewport of the camera correctly. Okay, so in this episode I'll be adding support for detecting multiple entities overlapping each other, and based on that I'll be able to do two things. First of all, player exiting the level, so there's going to be that kind of door thing, and second of all I'll be able to detect that the player has fallen off the screen. So let's start off with adding a new package here. Let's call it hitbox, and the reason why I call it hitbox is because this is also going to be used for combat. Imagine like missiles being thrown at each other, and in here we add hitbox overlap system. We'll register it, and we'll add a component. We'll have a couple different ones. One will be for rectangle hitbox component, and we'll have probably something also for oval and so on, but for now we don't just need the rectangle one because it approximates most of the stuff we want at the moment. And we'll have 4 fields in it. Get translate X, get translate Y, get width, and get height. So we quickly add this to the player, and this is basically going to be the same copy of the colliding object component, just the name of the component is going to be different. And the reason why we are not reusing this one is because some objects might have a colliding in one place, like the bounce of the object. However, the entity might want to respond to an event in a different spot of the entity itself. So that's how we're gonna solve this problem. And in here we'll be storing a map of entity ref to shape. It's going to be AWT shape, and hitbox entities, and we'll have to now react to, first of all, entity with hitbox added. So after component added, let's fix the path here. Okay, and it will be rectangle component and location component, because one without the other doesn't mean anything. Let's rename this to rectangle hitbox. Okay, so what we'll do here is we'll create a new rectangle, 2D dot float shape, actually we don't need it to be defined as float here. X position will be get X plus rectangle hitbox translate X. Y position will be get Y plus rectangle hitbox translate Y. And then we have width and height, which is rectangle hitbox get width and rectangle hitbox get height. So let's split it over the stuff, and hitbox entities put entity shape. Awesome. Now we have to make sure that whenever it's removed, so we want to react to the same two ones. we have to make sure that hitbox entities remove entity. Awesome. And now we have to also update it whenever it's updated. So this is going to be using a new event that was not used before. Hitbox modified. And we'll be using this. So that's after component updated. And this event is going to be called whenever either one of those two will be modified. So what we'll do, we'll basically create the shape again. What's this? Create shape. And we'll be replacing it. So doing basically the same thing here. Awesome. And now we'll be doing in an update method. So we have to game loop listener. We'll be injecting game loop. And so we want to be notified on every game loop call. We have to be overwriting initialize game loop this. So in this method update, we'll be going through all the hitboxes. Let's figure out. So we have to how do we go through this? Actually, let's go with linked. So we have to basically check every entity against every other entity. So let's just iterate through them. And in here we'll make a, okay, let's just iterate through it. And we'll be going once again through all the other entities. And if the other hitbox entity, let's just other entity, if entity equals other entity, maybe just for now go with rectangle. Let's make a shortcut here for now. Detect overlapping two different shapes is much more complicated. And rather than firing the event immediately, we'll first collect it. So let's create first an event here. And extend event. and we'll be here have the other entity. Yeah, sure, that's it. So a constructor. And the reason why don't want to fire it immediately is because while I'm iterating, one of those classes that respond to this event might remove one of those components, and then we'll be modifying the map while we're iterating through it, and will cause an error. Also, we don't want to miss any overlaps because of that as well. If, for example, we change its location and so on. So for now only here we'll have a list of overlap event to fire. No, it's not Java AWT. I want to use the Java util list. Linked list and events to fire. Add overlap event to fire entity other entity. And well, after we iterate through all of them, we can later on improve it a bit better. I should show how to do that using spatial tree. So let's go through events to fire and fire them here. Okay, so we have a class that's going to be detecting overlaps. And so now let's go with creating a new object, which is going to be that representing the door. So let's create a new package. Let's call it portal. And we'll have a portal component. Okay. Let's maybe go to exit portal component, or even with a level exit. And in here, let's create a class level exit system that will register. And we'll be listening for the platform, for the, what was the name of the event? Hitbox overlap event. So player entered portal. So hitbox overlap event ref entity and we will check that the player has the player component. We don't have a player component, so let's quickly add it. Implements, and let's add it here. Something at the beginning, player component. And let's do that if player. So if event get other entity has component level exit portal component, then we'll print out for now player exited. Okay, so now we'll have to create a block. So maybe let's move other blocks, create a new blocks. We have dirt, we have grass, we have stone. Let's move it there. And in here, let's make sure that everything is actually running still after these changes. I'm not sure if I have to update the location of those. Okay, everything's still running. So let's create a new block. Exit portal. Prefab. Cube, let's make it, let's go with dirt for now. And let's go only with the shape cube. Let me check quickly. Because we don't want it to be drawn on the sides, we just want to draw on the front of it. Assets, shape, cube. It is called front. So only front will be having this texture. All the other sides will not have any texture. And let's add it to our level. We are using this one at the moment. So let's add it here at the top one. This one is the top platform. And we'll do it above it and call it exit portal. No, I'm not. Okay, so we have the portal here, and now we can see it's 2D, it doesn't have a third D. However, it's still blocking our movement. So first of all, we want to move it to the back a bit. So not be on the same level as all the other ones. Okay, so now it's still blocking, and the reason why it's blocking is because in our platform collider we are just going through all the blocks rather than checking where their position is. So we can fix it here. The easiest fix is to make sure that we only add them if the z coordinate is 0. So z parse float split 2. However, it's not going to work still because we need to create an entity for this. At the moment, all those blocks that we are, like the static blocks, the third stone and so on, they don't have they don't have the associated entity with it, because we don't want to create so many entities in the system, as many as blocks you will have. But for this one we have to create an entity. So the way we can do this here is this. We can call it, you can create a new component here. Let's call it, let's do it in the logic. We'll call it special block, or non-static block. Let's call it this way. Non-static block extends component. It's going to be sort of a marker interface rather than actual containing any data. Non-static. That's the important one. So all the other blocks will be considered static except for those that have the non-static component. And so first of all we have to fix that. Statis. Okay, so this blocks we want to be rendered using the rendering, the environment renderer. However, we don't want the colliding to be using it. Let's go for that for this now. So we'll be adding this only if the level loaded block coordinates. How can we solve this? Let me think for a second. So we'll have here a colliding object component. So let's modify the way we do colliding here to use the yes, okay. So let's modify every block that we have here to have a collider. So we'll modify all of them. That way we don't have to even have this component. So let's remove it quickly. We'll be using it later on, but for now we don't need it. Except for this one, this block, the exit portal, which will not have the colliding object. And in here, rather than assuming that assuming that every block is exactly cube or of the specific definition, we'll do block coordinates. And we'll get the we have to iterate through it, through all of them, through all the entries. Location and block coordinate prefab, and we'll have a prefab manager here, and we'll get the prefab manager, get prefab by name prefab. And we'll prefab manager We are looking for entity manager. I don't know what I was thinking. Wrap entity data. Prefab data, get component. We are interested in the colliding object. So if the block has a colliding object component, we'll add it to the platform blocks. First we have to split the location. X, Y, and Z. We only set an X and Y only. 0, 1. And in here we'll be doing platform blocks, add new rectangle to the, not double float. It's X plus colliding object, translate X. Y plus colliding object, get translate Y, and colliding object width, colliding object height. Let me check, I think I might have copied it incorrectly. Yes, it should be 0 here for all the blocks. So this allows now for us to define blocks which are only like half height or any other kind of weird stuff. And that's it for this part. However, we still don't create the entity for these blocks that are this one. So let's create a new component. So where is the level loading? There's only these. So this is the rendering. Okay, so we have to create a new. Okay, in here we'll create level entity creator class entity system, which will be a system responsible for creating entities for all the blocks, all of the stuff in the level, not register system. And here will be level loaded after component added event entity ref entity and level component level get log coordinates and reset and block and we are more interested in block coordinates get key location, block coordinates get value prefab name. So in here we'll have to have a inject prefab manager, and we'll also need the entity manager to be able to create entities. So prefab manager get prefab by name, prefab name, and we'll wrap it into the entity manager wrap entity data, block data, and if so, we'll be adding a new component here, which will basically mark those entities that have to have those blocks that have to have an entity created for them because they have some special meaning for them. So block entity component. It's going to be a marker, extends component. So, and we'll add it to this one. Entity component. So this basically will say that this block, whenever you see it in the level, you have to create an entity for it. So if block data has component block entity component, then we have to create an entity manager, create entity from the entity data, and also in addition we have to pass the location to it, so we have to create a location. So we have to create a new component, result create component location component, because we cannot store the location in here, because this is basically a recipe for exit portal. In this case, the location is actually specified here. So we have to create based on that location. Oh, let's call it location string here. Location string split by comma. Location set x float parse float location split 0. We'll have y and c 1 and 2, and we will do result save changes. Awesome. So this system basically goes, whenever the level is loaded, goes through all the blocks, and if the block says that it has to have a component created for it, it has to have an entity created for it, it just creates it and makes sure that this entity also has a location component. So let's see how this works, if it works at all. So first of all, we have to make sure that first it's rendered, the new stuff, it is rendered correctly, and it is not blocking our way. Awesome. We can now walk onto it and nothing happens. And so now we just have to add a new component here, which is the hitbox to the portal. Hitbox, rectangle hitbox component, translate x. So they're going to be all zeros. Translate x is 0. Width and height will be 1. Not 0. And we have to add the component for the portal, which is here. The name is level exit portal. Level exit portal component, which is just a marker as well. So let's see if this does anything for us. Nothing's happening. Okay, we have to now debug it. What's going on? Let's see if this one is even called. Now maybe let's go with the hitbox overlap system. Okay, I found the problem. So the problem was that in here we have using the same event. So basically this one was called first. The hitbox was created for this shape, and then immediately after it was removed. So we have to actually use the correct event here. So before component removed, correct event. And let's one at it. We have to fix this one. Well, we don't have to, it's just name mode. I would like to be nice. Okay, so let's run it now. Okay, it's always detecting the exited shape, other shape. Okay, so in here, that's correct one, I think. So let's fix this and see how it works. Okay, so let's try to. Yes, player is exiting. Awesome. So we're now detecting that players actually reached the portal, and we can switch to a different level. Okay, that's enough for this episode. I'll upload it soon, and maybe I'll do detection of the going out of the bounds of the screen, or the bounds of the level in next episode. But now that we have this overlap system, we can do a lot of cool stuff with it, including firing fireballs and fireballs hitting and dealing damage to enemies. Okay, that's it for the episode. Make sure to like it and subscribe, and thanks for watching. Bye.